webinar. But again, this is the Promise to Place webinar focusing on Palm Beach County. This is one of the webinars we've been hosting in a monthly series of webinars focuses on the Promise to Place report and website. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it along to Sheba Rogers, who is the Promise to Place manager out of Detroit with the Campaign for Black Male Achievement.
Greetings and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us for today's Promise of Place webinar. We're very, very, very excited to hear from Palm Beach and the leaders there and the great work that they are doing. As Shamila shared, I am located in CBMA's Detroit office and serve as the Promise of Place program manager alongside my colleague Chris Rutherford, who I believe is also joining us for the call today. So I just wanted to shout him out and see if he has been able to join us. Chris, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I think we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So today we just want to jump right in to talk about our work with Palm Beach and sort of what they'll be highlighting today. So today's webinar will feature Black male achievement and engagement work from Palm Beach. And again, we're very excited to have them. Shamila, let me make sure I'm on the webinar screen because I'm not able to see it. Okay, here we are. Thank you. So for today's webinar, what we're looking to do, and essentially for all of our monthly Promise of Place webinars, is to continuously just be in conversation on how we mobilize, leverage, and sustain our commitment and efforts and practices to advance the well-being of Black men and boys. And so in the Promise of Place report that was released in 2015, we highlighted 3 action steps which continue to guide our conversations and webinars around this work. And so those 3 action steps include collective work and responsibility, so creating space for all of those who are concerned about the work that we're engaged here around Black male achievement, and so bounding together through our commitment and through our accountability. The second action step is respect and recognition. So that's where we continue to affirm and reimagine Black men and boys as assets in our communities and, of course, nationally. And bold goals and outcomes, so setting aspirational goals to guide our collective work. So today's webinar will more specifically include insights as well as updates on current and future CBMA field engagement. And so we also want to uplift strategies that move us toward making tangible progress in efforts to improve life outcomes and opportunities for Black men and boys. And then third, we also look to just hear from local leaders in Palm Beach and just receive some of their insight and wisdom. We will hear their story as well as some of their highlights of their work, both the progress as well as challenges with advancing Black male achievement and positive outcomes in their city. A focus of our Promise of Place work is being able to track progress and movement in the field of Black male achievement, so to track the movement as well as the successes across a variety of sectors. So one way we do that is through hearing from local leaders like yourself. The CBMA City Field Building Blocks Assessment, you can kind of see what that looks like right on the screen here. In this assessment, we ask local stakeholders to complete it, and it's our way to just kind of to keep CBMA informed of the work on the ground. So as a follow-up to this webinar, we will send everyone a link to the CBMA City Field Building Blocks Assessment. Completing this assessment really is a key way to making sure that the latest insights and updates in your city and the work you're doing on behalf of Black men and boys are sort of captured by CBMA, and we can elevate those, of course, on our websites and then, of course, in various webinars and different things as well. And so just a little bit about the Campaign for Black Male Achievement for any of you who may be joining us for the first time today. The Campaign for Black Male Achievement was established in 2008 as an initiative of the Open Society Foundation. The Campaign for Black Male Achievement is a national membership network that seeks to ensure the growth as well as the sustainability and impact of leaders and organizations committed to improving the life outcomes of Black men and boys. That's really the work that we are dedicated to and have been dedicated to since inception. In 2015, CBMA actually spun off from the Open Societies Foundation as an independent entity which supports a growing network of leaders, over 5,200 leaders representing more than 2,700 organizations, and we continue to grow, so we're really excited about that. Some of our partnerships, which we're very proud of, CBMA is just very proud to work with, support, and learn from many of our partners across the nation. But we're just also very blessed to have a variety of funders that support our work, and they have been instrumental in our startup. And of course, now as we continue to build and grow our work nationally, some of the funders that have and continue to support our work include the Open Societies Foundation, J.P. Morgan Chase, the Skillman Foundation, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Keenan Charitable Trust, Ford Foundation, Caper Center for Social Impact, the Knight Foundation, Casey Family Programs, the California Endowment, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as well, the Chicago Community Trust, Carnegie, as well as the Heinz Endowment. So we're just very thankful for our funders, as well as our partnerships. So CBMA is a very proud partner with a number of organizations we've helped to support, a number of organizations. And you can check out some of our partners that we work with on our website, and you can learn a little bit more about them there. And we'll make a call at the end of the webinar, but if you have not already signed up to be a part of the CBMA membership network, please feel free to sign up on our website, and we would love to continue to stay engaged with you. But some of the organizations and initiatives that we help to kind of launch and support through the work of Black Male Achievement include the BME network, My Brother's Keeper Alliance, Cities United, the National League of Cities, in Echoing Green Black Male Achievement Fellowship, NYC Young Men's Initiative, as well as the Executive Alliance to Expand Opportunities for Boys and Men of Color, and of course CBMA's Rumble, Young Man Rumble. So we're just very excited to have many partnerships nationally that continue to move the work in local cities and of course nationally. So we want to move into some of our resources and support. CBMA has worked to pull together a number of resources to engage and support the field of Black male achievement. And these resources offer a variety of tools and strategies to support the growth, sustainability, and impact of our members and the national Black male achievement field. And so you can kind of see some of the resources listed here, and I'll kind of go through them very briefly. The Promise of Place report, Cities Advancing Black Male Achievement. If you haven't already checked that out, please feel free to go on our website and pull the report. It's really one of the first of its kind where we track sort of the progress and engagement in local communities. So we actually looked across 50 cities in that report to just kind of see what initiatives they're doing to support Black male achievement in across those 50 cities. But it's much deeper than that. It's very exciting. We're actually working on our 2017 report, so it'll be sort of the 2.0 of this report. But that's certainly a resource for you. Building a Beloved Community, Strengthening the Field of Black Male Achievement is another report that'll be very great for you to check out. It really looks at the philanthropic support for Black men and boys. So if you're interested in that, that will be a great resource. Quantifying Hope, Philanthropic Support for Black men and boys is another report from 2015. And that really looks at the U.S. funding trends for Black men and boys. So that's also another very exciting report as we track sort of what funding is looking like to keep these kinds of initiatives supported and sustained. And then our another report is where do we go from here? Again, also looking at philanthropic support for Black men and boys. And that was one of our earlier reports that we kind of did, looking at the philanthropic support supporting this work. So please feel free to go on our website and check out some of those reports and continue to just engage us if you have any questions about those resources. And so we also want to highlight and uplift CBMA's High School Excellence Framework. So the Campaign for Black Male Achievement's High School Excellence Framework has been developed to elevate the relevant levers we believe will support Black men and boys as they transition from high school to college, but as well as through career and through community. The 5 pillars of our framework include academic rigor and achievement, academic and future planning, family and community involvement, opportunity access and retention supports, and school presence and engagement. And so that's going to be the diagram on your left side. And it says these are the needs of Black male students. So we believe that these 5 levers here have to work together to support our Black male students in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. We see work around these 5 key areas as critical to providing robust as well as high-quality opportunities for our Black boys, and ultimately to support the foundation of building a beloved community where Black boys are supported to thrive and to succeed in school and in life, and of course with the help of a loving community and a supportive community. So using those 5 identified levers and associated activities, CBMA, along with our High School Excellence Advisory Board, believe that our framework will not just increase high school graduation rates, but ensure that schools and communities are supported throughout the process. And so when those levers are in place, we move to sort of that middle diagram in that middle bucket. We can see that there are tangible things that we can expect to happen or that we hope will happen through this work, which is on-time graduation of our Black boys, right? So they're also meeting proficiency levels on career and vocational tests, in addition to meeting state standards for college and career readiness, as well as score at college readiness levels on college entry exams. So those are just some of the things that we look forward to seeing as we implement sort of these 5 key levers through the High School Excellence Framework. And as we move from that, we'll see, looks like I lost the slide. But as we move from that, we'll begin to see sort of in that final bucket the things that we expect to see on the back end, which is sort of job entry and business career paths being developed, right? So just creating more opportunities for our Black males post-graduation, right? So whether that's post-secondary education, but post-secondary education that includes being on track with their peers and sort of not having to go through remediation, quality career and job training, credential enrollment, and those sorts of things. So, we're just very excited to be in this work of high school excellence for Black boys nationally and in many of our core cities. And as many of you may have heard the phrase, history of making history. It's a common phrase stated by our CEO, Sean Dove. And so the High School Excellence Framework will continue the history-making mindset of CBMA. And so now we do just want to kind of give a brief outlook and overview of the Promise of Place report. And we kind of mentioned that above in one of the resources. But we want to move forward to kind of tell you a little bit more about the report. It was released in 2015, and it was the first of its kind to really track movement in cities and really track engagement. And so in the report, it actually unveiled what we're calling the CBMA City Index. And so the index actually scored 50 cities based on their level of engagement, or at least their visible level of engagement, and their actions and efforts and initiatives on behalf of Black men and boys. The 50 cities scored in this report are home to approximately 5.5 million Black males. And so that represents more than 30% of all Black men and boys in the United States. So it really captured a significant number of communities just from those 50 cities. And the scoring that took place in terms of the city index was out of 100 points, and the median score was around 53 points. We used a variety of measures to come up with that city index score and how the 50 cities were, ranked sort of at the end of it, or, when you look at the index. So these are how the cities were able to gain points in the various categories. So their demographic mix, they could get 10 points, a maximum of 10 points in that category, which just included a measure of the presence of Black men and boys as a percentage of the total male population in the city. Number two, the second measure is their city-led commitment to Black men and boys. And so that was based on their demonstrated city-level awareness and commitment to work on behalf of Black men and boys. The CBMA membership, that granted 20 points. And so we essentially just took the number of CBMA individual members and the number of CBMA organizational members for that category. 4, they were able to earn 20 points in this category, and that included the national initiatives supporting Black men and boys represented in their cities. And then the 5th one included targeted funding and support, and cities could get a maximum of 20 points for that category as well. So the level of targeted philanthropic investment and efforts on Black men and boys in those cities. And so that's essentially how the city index scoring was measured there. You can check out these resources, the report, and submit updates from your city by going onto our website. So in order to continuously update CBMA on the latest activity and committed action unfolding in your city, please use our website to submit new information that can be featured on your specific page, and also feed into what is highlighted in future reports. So we really do take your input to heart and to value. So if you go on our website, let us know what's happening in your city. We will absolutely be keeping up with you, keeping track with you, and we would love to hear from you. So please do go on our website and submit those updates if there are really cool and awesome things that are going on, or just things that you want to share with us. And so the 2017 Promise of Place report, we are super excited to just kind of announce to all of you on the line here and on the webinar, the 2017 Promise of Place report is underway. Our team is working very hard, and so what you can expect for the 2017 report it will build on this first report. So a little bit of what you just heard, but in the 2017 report, there's going to be several new sort of elements to the report. We will be tracking the progress made since the first report on the 5 data categories previously measured across the 50 cities. We will also feature in-depth profiles highlighting the core dynamics and field building blocks of CBMA's 5 core cities, which include Detroit, Oakland, Louisville, Milwaukee, as well as Baltimore. And we will also lift up cities that were not originally scored in the first report. So these are cities that have been emerging with promising activity and practices and initiatives on behalf of Black men and boys. So we are very excited to lift up a few new cities, as well as kind of do a deeper dive in the CBMA 5 core cities. So we'll be certainly keeping you updated as we continue to move along with our report and getting it ready for release later this year.
All right. Thank you so much, Shiva, for that. So now we're going to move into the feature city or county for this webinar, which is Palm Beach County, Florida. And we have some amazing leaders and stakeholders from Palm Beach County to talk about what's been going on the ground there. The Palm Beach wasn't part of our first report, but it is a city that has been having a lot of emerging and promising activities and action on behalf of Black men and boys over the years through the Mayor's Village Initiative, through Kids and Cost programs, through the Neighborhood Accountability Board, and also through launching a lot of activities through My Brother's Keeper, MBKA. And so we want to make sure we provide space and opportunity for a couple of people from the field that operate within different levels and in different sectors within the city to provide a perspective around what's working and what's not, what are some of the successes and challenges, what are some promising activities that are emerging out of Palm Beach that could really inform everyone's work across cities across the U.S. So first, I want to introduce Aikal, who is the task force leader with My Brother's Keeper Palm Beach County Initiative, who will take us through a couple of slides and open us up into what's happening in Palm Beach County.
Shiva and Jamila, thank you for the introduction. We are so excited and extremely appreciative of this opportunity to highlight the work we're engaged in here in Palm Beach County. I'm going to start off by talking about My Brother's Keeper network of Palm Beach County. Next slide, please. So near the end of 2014, the Palm Beach County mayor accepted President Obama's call to action challenge to become My Brother's Keeper communities. As many of you are aware, the MBK Community Challenge urges communities to develop and implement strategies to improve the life outcomes for all young people. Next slide. Thus, we convened a local action summit to establish the My Brother's Keeper network of Palm Beach County, and subsequently we developed a plan of action. The MBK network is a coalition of public and private entities that work collectively to improve the life outcomes for boys and young men of color through internal agency policy review, fostering equity in education and employment opportunities. Our strategic objectives include mentor recruitment, strategic communications, network, and capacity building. Next. Next, please. Here you see a listing of the MBK task force composition. We established a robust task force that's comprised of the business community, county and municipal leaders, education system, criminal justice system, workforce development system, health department, social justice organizations, youth and parents, faith-based and community leaders, and other stakeholders that you see listed on the screen. Next slide, please. And the list goes on and on, so we're just highlighting some of those that make up the MBK task force. Next slide, please. Our MBK network goals are based on collective impact, including reviewing program policies and practices with the focus on improving outcomes for boys and young men of color. The objective is to review these policies and practices through a racial equity lens, determining their effectiveness, and provide recommendations and strategies for improvement. Next. In terms of capacity building, mentoring is a huge focus area that we're working diligently with the United Way of Palm Beach County Mentor Center to increase the number of mentors. The next presentation on this webinar today will provide more information on the Mentor Center. The overarching MBK network goal is to promote systemic changes in order to improve attitudes, practices, and access to resources that ultimately foster positive impact, including educational and economic opportunity for boys and young men of color. Next, please. I'm going to take this opportunity just to highlight some of the accomplishments we've been able to achieve through the My Brother's Keeper network. In terms of what we've accomplished, we've conducted an initial policy review to determine whether policies and procedures benefit all populations equitably. We've identified some initial areas of focus along with related milestones and began the work For example, one of the milestones is implement policies that will improve school district staff's ability to train and educate youth on current and relevant social issues. In relation to this milestone, locally we have an ongoing Racial Equity Institute training and summer institutes, which you will hear more about from my colleague momentarily. And you see other accomplishments listed here in the PowerPoint presentation. Next slide, please. We've been able to raise over $25,000 for the United Way Mentor Center, which allows them to offer additional mini grants to mentoring agencies to expand their capacity. We've established MBK ambassadors at the municipal as well as school level to serve as liaisons to the business community and the MBK network. And we've worked with other cities within the state of Florida, including Miami, Orlando, Sanford, Tampa, St. Pete, and Tallahassee, to share best practices and foster the establishment of a Florida's Alliance for Boys and Men of Color. Next slide, please. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight some work we did earlier this year that we're very proud of here in Palm Beach County. We held our Race to Equity Summit, which resulted in an awesome event. The summit included national experts coupled with local leaders to discuss and look at issues related to racial equity, policy, grant making, community movements toward law enforcement and criminal justice reform, boosting Black male achievement, and economic empowerment, along with other topics. Next slide, please. The summit resulted in more than 400 attendees, including 40 guest speakers. The feedback indicated that attendees gained a better perspective on key issues, the systemic barriers and potential solutions to foster racial equity and strengthen local collective efforts to improve outcomes for boys and young men of color. Next slide. There were 120 young men from 12 local middle and high schools in attendance during the summit. They were able to participate in various workshops as well as engage in real dialogue with national leaders directly involved in the campaign for Black male achievement. And at this point, we're going to transition to the United Way Mentor Center.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Graham. I'm the Senior Director for the United Way of Palm Beach County and working with the Mentor Center of Palm Beach County as well. Next slide, please. The Mentor Center is a local affiliate of National Mentoring Partnership, or Mentor, which is the overarching body that determines standards and quality standards for all mentoring programs across the country. The primary focus of the Mentor Center are training, advocacy, programmatic technical assistance, and mentor recruitment. As you do see, we are the only affiliate of National Mentoring Partnership in the state of Florida. Next slide, please. As a local affiliate of National Mentoring Partnership, we also oversee a network of programs of 31 local mentoring programs. In addition to overseeing this network, we also provide close to $1 million in funding to 14 mentoring programs. The majority of that funding comes from some of our major funders, Children's Services Council and Palm Beach County Youth Services. Next slide, please. Over the past 3 years, we have changed our funding approach and strategy to make a larger impact on our most economically disadvantaged communities. We have a quarter of our funds going towards programs in the Glades, which has been identified as the largest and most targeted geographic community that we have here in Palm Beach County, specifically to recruit young males and boys of color in those communities. We have also shifted our focus to recruiting mentors of color. Next slide, please. The reason we have shifted our focus is because of our latest survey. We surveyed our local mentoring programs, the 31 programs that we have in network, plus 10 additional mentoring programs. And we found out that we had over 1,400 youth waiting to be matched with a mentor in Palm Beach County, 1,438 to be exact. Of those youth, over 60% were minorities, and over 60% of those were also young boys. So we felt that we had to change our strategy to make sure that we met the needs of these young boys in Palm Beach County. We didn't feel like every young boy needed a man of color, but we had to make sure that if we wanted one, we wanted to make sure he had one available to him. So that's why we had to change our strategies. Next slide, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gary. Now we're going to hear from Brian Nobles, who is the manager of African American, Latino, and Gender Studies with the School District of Palm Beach County, and also the African American Studies Summer Institute.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Knowles, excuse me. I'm the manager of the Office of African American, Latino, and Gender Studies. Next slide, please. As far as my work, it's definitely aligned to, in 2016, just kind of go back a little bit, our superintendent, Dr. Robert Avosa, came in with a strategic plan to increase academic achievement for all of our students. And my work supports this strategic plan specifically by creating effective and relevant instruction to meet the needs of all students and also creating a positive and supportive school climate. Also, my office is also critical in the implementation to make sure that students are engaged in meaningful work, receiving personalized, standards-based education, and also they're being educated and work within a culture of high expectations. Next slide, please. All right, so as far as this work, it's a lot of work that needs to be done in response to through this office and also in response to creating a more culturally relevant curriculum and also increasing cultural competency among district personnel. So one of the first things that I did when I came into this position back in December of last year is to strategically implement this work. So I kind of put in my initiatives for the upcoming school year, which starts in 2017, actually in August of 2017, going into summertime of 2018. First of all, in the state of Florida, we have a state mandate or a statute that calls for the infusion of African and African American content, Latino, and also gender studies. So within the next couple years, next year or so, I have a whole outline of stuff which is presented on this slide as far as how I can get this infusion to happen. So first of all, I'm working real diligently to get interdepartmental support, working with some of the other curriculum departments outside of just social studies and history, working with math and science to get a full infusion in those core subjects as well, as far as introducing the contributions of African and African Americans in the curriculum. Also enhancing the curriculum for the African and African American history courses, which are offered throughout the high schools. There's a teacher resource on there because I put infusion lessons on Blender. There's a teacher resource called Blender, which teachers actually get lesson plans. There's resources, the external links, and things that those teachers can use to adequately teach those courses. So one of my missions and one of my goals is to make sure that teachers can get adequate resources in Blender. Also providing professional development for our teachers, making sure that teachers are trained in instructional pedagogy of teaching black children and also the content and the history of teaching black children. And also providing myself as school site support and our summer institutes. I'm just going to briefly touch on our summer institutes. This past week, we actually had the summer institute June 12th through the 14th. And the whole objective of those summer institutes, and the one that we just previously had, is to help increase cultural competency among district personnel and also assist in the development of culturally responsive instruction and curriculum. So what we had renowned experts come in from all over the country that specialize in instructional design, pedagogy, and also curriculum development. So we had breakout sessions. One of our keynote speakers was Chris Chapman out of Oakland. So bring some of his expertise and some of the work that he's doing out in Oakland out here so we can actually build that relationship and partnership with the school district there as well and some of the things that they're doing for black boys. Next slide. So some of the updates that I'm doing, for example, we have an African and African American history course in our high schools, And we have one high school here in Palm Beach that's actually making it mandatory that every single student coming through the high school takes the African and African American history course. So I want to make sure that first that the lessons that are presented and that are available in those courses are rigorous and also aligned to the current standards. That the teachers have access to comprehensive resources, and also develop lessons that are culturally relevant to our current generation of students. We have a framework that's in place for the African and African American history course, but I just want to move forward and be more progressive and enhancing that to make that curriculum more engaging, and also create a uniformity by improving the course content and resources in Blender to make sure that teachers throughout the district are on the same page in regards to teaching that course. By creating a semester exam, making sure that the teachers have access to assessments. We have a lesson plans that are signed with the new textbooks. Actually, there's going to be 3 new textbooks for that course in the upcoming school year. And also a course calendar to kind of keep teachers, like a framework to keep teachers on the same pace. Next slide. And also, because it's a lot of work, and when I say the Office of African and African American, Latino, and Gender Studies, a lot of people ask, like, how many people work in that department. Currently, it's only 2 of us. So if you see on this slide here, I got the work kind of broken down in buckets. So hopefully by this year, by August, I can have the whole first semester of African history lined up. As a matter of fact, I'm actually well ahead of that. So what I have projected to be finished by January, I should actually have completed by August. So semester 1 and semester 2 of that course should be fully available to our teachers by August. And right within within that slide is broken down of all the how many lessons, how many formative assessments, how many summative assessments, and the semester exams and everything that's needed, that's required to make sure that it's an adequate course that competes with the other courses that are offered throughout the school. Historically, at high schools, this course has been treated as a peripheral course, meaning one of those courses that is an elective that guidance counselors will place students in because they just may need a half a credit or they may need a credit or whatever it may be. But I'm trying to change that perception and make it actually a more competitive course and make it an actual adequate course that our kids can get something out of. Next slide, please. And also when it comes to infusion, just like I mentioned earlier, we have a state mandate that calls and requires an infusion. So one of the things that I've done that I'm actually currently doing is identifying units in the secondary, which is the middle and high school textbooks, the history textbooks that marginalize the contributions of people of color, and infusing and making sure that we start to fill in some of those gaps and provide lesson plans of adequate and accurate history that kind of shift away from the Eurocentric perspective, which are presented historically in textbooks. And also infuse supplemental materials for those subjects that are inclusive of people of color into Blender, i.e. just that resource for teachers. And also, hopefully by the spring of 2018, that we can infuse content in books for read alouds for students in elementary schools as well. Next slide. And yeah, that's it. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Brian. So finally, we're going to hear from Dr. DeAndre Poole, who is the chairman with the Coalition for Black Student Achievement.
Okay, thank you also very much. Go to the next slide. Just to give you some background for the coalition. The African American community in Palm Beach County, this is going to touch on this briefly. As it says, that advocacy, activism, and caring about education, this continues to be the focus. The coalition has been around for about 20 years now, and we're made up of a couple of elected officials. They're individuals who work for various government agencies. They're retired educators, current educators, principals, as well as members of various unions here in the county. And so we all work together in a collective manner to be able to push the work and to really advance the needs of our students, our Black students here in Palm Beach County. Next slide. So the mission and the purpose, and the mission, of course, is the coalition is to achieve systematic education reform. And this is specifically, again, combines the quality of education as well as academic achievement. And then the purpose we have is quite extensive, but just to give you a quick understanding of the purpose again is to come up with policy, to work with policymakers, be they school board members, be they district staff, also educators who are within the school system. We've worked out and reached out to members of the Classroom Teachers Association as well to work with them, engaging parents in the community as well as educating and engaging the public at large about some of the issues that our Black males and our Black females are having here in Palm Beach County. And also with regard to publishing reports and meetings, one of the key reports that was published that really got the ball rolling or with regard to the coalition and its work was a document that was produced called Achievement Matters for All. And Achievement Matters for All document that in which the Coalition for Black Student Achievement and the Palm Beach County School District, a partnership where the coalition said, you know, these are the things we want to see. The district said, okay, you know, agreed to that, and really it set up that partnership. So it's been a partnership that has been ongoing. I meet monthly with the superintendent, also meet quite frequently with various department heads to discuss issues and problems that we're having in the community, and you know, how can we go about addressing those issues. We also serve on, I'm currently the chair of the Academic Advisory Committee for the school district. We have members that serve on other committees, for example, the ESC committee that the district has. We have the Diversity and Equity Committee. So we have seats at these tables, and, you know, we use our collective voices to push our agenda. Next slide, please. So the coalition, at one point, the history behind it is, of course, it started as really a committee with the NAACP, and one of our school board members, actually, well, she wasn't a school board member at the time, but she's a current school board member, Dr. Deborah Robinson, who took the initiative at the urging, as it says here, of our current Congressman Alcee Hastings to really develop an organization that could advocate and push policy to help our Black boys. The history here in Palm Beach County is you have a great deal of wealth, but then you also have a lot of poverty as well. And the bottom line is it's just been political. It's been political today, although we are starting to see some change in the movement. And, of course, there has not been a consistent superintendent. I would say we've probably gone through about 5 superintendents within the past 20 years. So that consistency of leadership has changed over a period of time. And with that, things or promises that have been made to the community have gotten lost. But that's just a quick overview of how it came to be. And I will add to this and say that the coalition was very instrumental in helping Dr. Robinson get elected to the school board to continue to advocate and push policy for our Black males. And also to actually change the political landscape. At one point, the district was county-wide elections, so now we have district-wide elections, partly as a result of the work of the coalition. Next slide, please. Some of the initiatives that have come out of the coalition, As I mentioned earlier, AMFA stands for the Achievement Matters for All document. And again, the partnership between the district and the coalition itself. So PSAT for all 10th graders came out of the work that we worked on with them. The annual cultural sensitivity training for school police. Also, one of the things that we have continued to push and is the Racial Equity Institute. And this is an institute that has really taken off here in Palm Beach County. We have various government entities that require or put their managers of different programs through this particular institute. So I would say quite a few of our organizations here in the county that work with students have gone through the racial equity training. In addition, recruitment of teachers from HBCUs. So this was an initiative that the coalition pushed, and I met recently with the director of recruitment to talk about some things that her office needs to do to, better reach out and pull in more teachers. But we're starting to see a great deal of movement as they seek to recruit more black males and black females in the classroom. In addition to what's not listed here, last year, I believe it was a year or so ago, a document was produced, the educational equity audit that the school district, the New York University actually came in and conducted the equity audit, and it showed a great deal of discrepancies and gaps in, black male education between white males as well as black teachers, in how they're treated or disciplined in comparison to white and Hispanic counterparts, and so many other things that particular report showed. But it was one of the things that we were advocating for, and we pushed for that. In addition to that, as I said, it's an ongoing Racial Equity Institute now. So, but the name changed. We also partnered with the Education Trust from Washington, D.C. to bring national level insight and advocacy work to Palm Beach County. So, all this work that has been done over the past 18, 20 years or so, we continue to do that same work today. Next slide, please. And some of the current projects that we are working on, we continue to have our regular meetings with school district officials on a monthly basis. We continue to serve on district committees. We continue to work closely with Mr. Knowles' office. He just spoke, African American, Latino, and Gender Studies office. At one point, when the new superintendent came in, there was an effort to actually close the office, but we advocated against that, and we had to help him and his team understand the necessity of this office, and we continue to advocate and push that the office be fully supported and funded and have the staff that it needs. Originally, it had three people, as Mr. Knowles said. They're looking for a third, so we're going to continue to speak to the officials in the district about that, and we're going to make that a issue in this upcoming school board election as well. As far as the task force for black male graduation, in 2010, there was a graduation task force that was organized to advise the superintendent at that time on a whole set of initiatives to increase black male graduation here in Palm Beach County. And we continue to be a part of that. We are actually working with the Parental Engagement and Family Engagement Committee. We're also working on the community engagement piece of that committee as well, to offer insight and direction that the superintendent needs to take to really engage those areas in the community that are still problematic. I also am a member of the steering committee for the Birth of 22, as Mr. Powell mentioned earlier. Again, this is another place that we have to speak to those decision makers all across the county about the things that we need to be doing. I can tell you that one of the initiatives that we're working with is the Pre-K Collaborative, and this is a group that meets monthly in Riviera Beach, one of the areas that has a large population of our black males who are, who are not performing well academically. And working with our school board member in this district, we brought together the CEOs, the Children's Services Council, Early Learning Coalition, elected officials, other pre-K providers in the area to really talk about how can we change the outcomes. And just to give you a quick, and I'm going to be finished talking, give you a quick overview of that. The district at one point was looking to actually convert one of the elementary schools in the city to an all pre-K school. And what that would have done is it would have really hurt a lot of the people in the community who have pre-K centers. So that was an economic as well as a problem that we didn't want to see happen. So we continued to advocate and push that not happen. And we've seen some good things out of that. The United Way, the area is a part of that, and so many others are a part of that. So we're seeing some good work take place with regard to that. And lastly, early college is another thing that we are in the process of looking into. We do think that their district, we don't feel the district has done enough with that, with early college, and really making it something that that needs to be in the minds of our black males. And of course, the textbook adoption. So we participate in that right now. There's a science textbook adoption taking place. So we have members of our organization who are serving on the textbook adoption committees, and just to make sure that the textbooks are reflective of the diversity. And right now, that's it.
Thank you so much, all of you. So we have a couple of questions in these last few minutes that did come in through the audience. But if anybody has a question that we're not able to get to today, please go ahead and still type it. And what we'll do is we'll ask the presenters to answer them offline and then shoot those answers back to you. But the first question actually is for Ike, which is how were you able to recruit the many organizations you listed when you were walking through the MBKA Palm Beach County organizations that you all work with?
Okay. James is going to assist us with answering that question.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, there's, first of all, I don't know if I heard this, but I just want to recognize that the recent FSA scores came out for our black male third graders, and they made 6% gain. So it was a 6% increase in the reading scores for our black male third graders, which I thought was tremendous, and it really speaks to all of the different systems that are working together to focus on our black males here in Palm Beach County. There's been a tremendous amount of energy and excitement and rallying for our black males in this county and our boys of color in general. And so once we developed a list of the community organizations, nonprofits, major funders, religious organizations, all of those, we had several meetings to kick off the MBK initiative, and the county mayor, Priscilla Taylor at the time, was well connected, so she had all of her constituents notified. We had Dr. Robinson at the school board who had accepted the challenge several months before, and so those entities were brought to brought to the table, and it really made for a successful engagement strategy in reaching out to those individuals and making sure that they were connected to this work. And in addition to that, we had the Birth to 22 initiative that was moving forward as well. And so the partners involved with that initiative were already linked together and moving work forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we have a final question for all of you, actually, which is you are clearly doing a fantastic job in this space around engaging Black women and boys and leaders that are working in this space. So how would you recommend other communities and cities get started in launching similar initiatives in their cities and also creating energy around this work within their cities? Whoever wants to take a first stab at that.
I would recommend that they form a team to find out who those community leaders are that are passionate about this work. The people who are on this call that presented to you today, they live and breathe this work. This is something that resonates deep within them, and it's something that they're very passionate about. And so other cities, I would recommend that you find those individuals throughout your various cities and bring them together and start thinking about a plan. It was great to have the president to lay out some of the outcomes, the 6 areas, so that in terms of framing the discussion, it was easier since we were already following a template. But if you bring those leaders together and have a conversation about what you want to do, I think that's the place to start. And certainly getting the institutions, the major institutions at the table, and all of the, the nonprofits and the faith-based institutions at the table as well.
Great. And I don't know if Gary, Brian, or Dr. Poole had any thoughts that you all wanted to add as well.
This is Brian, and I absolutely agree that, it takes just that discussion and bringing the community together. And just kind of take that extra step and not letting the work die and actually deliver on these discussions. Our community must do beyond just sitting down, let's have meetings, let's have these discussions, but taking action. That's my big thing. Let's go beyond just the conversation. Let's go beyond just the discussion. Let's take an action. Let's come up with a plan and be strategic about that plan.
And I would agree with both Brian and James. I'll say that one of the things you definitely want to do as well is there needs to be a political piece to this. All of this, the work is political. It takes political will. But from our experience here, working with the school district, is the district, because of I'll say the superintendent really speaking about the equity issues within the system itself and really coming out and calling it what it is, racism. So there has to be the political will, and what we've done in this county is we have some political leaders who are not afraid to call it what it is. And I think that's a piece that has to be, if it has to be cultivated, if you need to identify, if you have some white elected officials, you may have to find some who are allies and pull those allies into this work, and then start to build relationship and get them to talk to their friends and counterparts. So that's to add to what James and to what Brian said.
Great. Thank you all so much. I want to shift it back to Sheba to close us out and bring the webinar to a close.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jamila. We would love to just continue to engage today, but we do want to respect and honor everyone's time. It has been 1 hour of just truly engaging dialogue with Palm Beach County. And so before we close today, we just want to express our gratitude and appreciation for each of you for joining us today. And on behalf of the CBMA team, I extend a big thank you to our speakers and panelists today, Mr. Ike Powell, Mr. Gary Graham, Mr. Brian Knowles, and Dr. DeAndre Poole, just for providing your insight today on just such a very important topic and the work you're doing there. So thank you for that. We also just want to send a special thank you to our CEO and fierce leader, of course, Sean Dove, for his leadership and just paving the way for CBMA to continue to carry out this important work. And, of course, to our webinar guests, thank you for just being with us today and engaging with us. Please feel free to send us any additional feedback you may have or any additional questions from today's webinar that you may have. And then we'll be reaching out to the speakers today to get their input and to be able to send that back to you. We look forward to having you join us for our next Promise of Place webinar next month, so please be on the lookout for our emails and announcements on that front. And also, if you are not already a member of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, please do go to our website and sign up. Once you sign up, you will begin to receive our monthly newsletters and as well as invitations to our monthly network calls, as well as many other resources that come out. So we share information through our social media networks. So you are more than welcome and encouraged to please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram. And so to not keep you any longer, we just look forward to remaining in touch with you. And we just want to thank you again for your time today. So have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.